Assalamualaikum. My name is Karina. I'm a Betika Anwar. My group will present the article review about word combinations. Our article review is based on word combinations of English in academic writing by De Mercy in 2018. Our review consists research problem, research gap, significance, research questions, methodology, strength and weakness of the research, findings and recommendations. What was the problem that had led the researchers to conduct the research? The problem of the research is to identify the competence of native writers in collocations that raise the possibility of non-native writers to acquire their collocations in the academic writing because it is not possible to increase lexical competence of collocations. Next, I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum to Madam. There are different understanding between native and non-native speakers because it is believed that collocations can be produced by the mind of native speakers intuitively due to strong correlations between nativeness on linguistic components. The research gap is the non-native writers shows indeterminacy of collocation and formality as it is considered as problematic issue suggested by Durant and Smith for further research. It needs to be solved so that non-native would not desperately sound like native speaker without actually knowing the meaning of collocation. It also stated that non-native writers tend not to know much about collocation according to Jalmer 1990, unlike the mind of native writers that are already pre-constructed. Sometimes the wrong use of collocation, like direct translation among non-native, could misinterpret the translation in any language. There are many ways for non-native to expertise the skills of native-like writers, such as become aware of the important role of collocations, competence to get the intuitive use of word combinations in a natural way as native do as described by Howard and Brown. ELT also proved the effectiveness of collocations that leads to writing fluency as writers are able to shift the usage from only single word structure to collocations. In the past research, the researchers are focusing on the data of 100 native speakers and lexical collocations that includes adjective, adverbs, verbs, and nouns. Also, the term mixed collocation are contradictory with fixed collocation, which prevalent in non-native writers' writings. For example, native would say something like fast train and quick shower instead of quick train and fast shower.
Okay, my name is Amira Udia. So I will be explaining what was the significance of the study. So the study aims at increasing the awareness toward the importance of collocation in order to have a native fluency in writing, such as making some suggestions regarding movement of collocation in academic texts and creating a participle list of collocation to be used especially in research articles by non-native writers of English. So now I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Wan Hana Sofia binti Wan Abu Bakar with metric number 2015912. So a research question is basically a question that a study aims to answer. So selecting a study question is essential in both quantitative and qualitative research. This question frequently refers to a problem or issue that is addressed in the study's conclusion through data analysis and interpretation. So in this study, there are two research questions, which are how to raise awareness of the importance of collocations in academic writing, and how to suggest and use collocations in academic papers and research articles.
Assalamualaikum. I am Nur Asilawati Petisambi. I will talk about the methodology of this research. So it contains three methods, which is data, categorization of collocations, data analysis, and procedure. First method that used in word combination research was data. 100 research articles written in English by native speakers of English in ELT was collected. Author status of nationality was presumed based on the author name and country. The corresponding author was regarded as the writer of article in which more than one scholar existed, hence the nationality of the corresponding author represented for all other authors in the affiliation. The articles were chosen arbitrarily from 30 SSCI juries distributing in the field of ELT. A probabilistic example utilizing straightforward, arbitrary examining procedure was utilized to accumulate articles, consequently to develop the corpora. So probabilistic sample technique refers to a sampling procedure in which all members of the population have the same probability of being selected. So next, the categorization of collocations, which can be divided into several categories. So the first one is word plus noun, achieve a purpose. Word plus adverb, become embedded. Noun plus verb, article 6. Noun plus noun, discussion board. Adjective plus noun, adequate account. Adverbs plus adjective, culturally biased. Lastly, adverb plus verb, continually change. Lastly, for the last method of this research, which is data analysis and procedure, the entire information was physically examined by the specialists and collocation tests were compiled. The gathered collocations were checked through collocations dictionaries in order to affirm the reliability of the researcher. A concordance program was utilized to observe the turn words and their frequencies, as well as token and type numbers, so that each turn word that was taken from the information was examined through the collocations dictionaries to improve the quantity of arranged words, so that many new collocation examples that did not exist in the articles were discovered. The strength of this research can be seen when the researcher managed to highlight that native writers of English are vigorously relied on the utilization of collocations, which is anything but a surprising result since there is a solid positive connection between the skill of collocations and second language capability. Then the current investigation discovered that local journalists of English will quite often involve low recurrence word lengths, as Stewart and Skinner reveal. So in conclusion, it can conclude that it's a strong marker for sounding local in their language in light of the fact that the utilization of low recurrence collocations as opposed to rehashing high recurrence ones has lexical variety of an author. So that's all for me. I'll proceed to the next presenter.
Okay, now moving on to the weakness that we have found in this research is that the first one, the researcher itself didn't even answer the research questions that is about how to raise awareness of the importance of collocation in academic writings. but instead they only using the data for the previous researcher. And secondly, the researcher only categorized the type of collocation that was only used by native writers, but they didn't explain the use of collocation in academic papers and research articles for non-native writers.
So, did the researchers manage to report the findings clearly? It is proof that the finding is not clear as we expected it to be. They need to improve because it is considered the native writers are strongly dependent on the use of collocations, which is not expected from the results, as the early studies found that the native writer does not rely on collocations too much. In conclusion, the researcher did not answer the research questions. This is because the research only categorized the types of collocations used by the 100 native writers. The researcher only succeeds to give suggestions of collocation words for native writers, but not for non-native writers, as collocations are important to all academic writers. For recommendations, first, constructing new lists of collocations could be a useful study for non-native writers writing in multiple fields, due to the fact that the present study has created only a list of collocations to be used primarily in ELT. Next, a research study that focuses on why non-native writers prefer low-frequency collocations. It will be crucial to obtain a better understanding of the problem and identify ways to encourage non-native writers to utilize low-frequency collocations. This is due to the fact that the majority of non-native speakers rely on high-frequency collocations. And lastly, it is known that grammatical collocations are one of two forms of collocations commonly utilized in linguistics. However, this study simply produced a list of lexical collocations. Therefore, a list of grammatical collocations could be quite useful in linguistics. That's all from our group. Thank you.